When I was a kid, I absolutely hated reading. And when I say I hated reading, I mean like I hated it. I absolutely despised it. To me, reading was almost kind of like the bane of my existence. I would rather watch grass grow, watch paint dry, and do everything else under the sun instead of read words on a page. So basically, I was an idiot. Now, don't get me wrong, I really wanted to love reading. And I think that honestly, I loved the idea of it. Maybe it's because I grew up in the age of video games and my attention span was just absolutely shit from the very beginning. Or it was the pure frustration that I always felt seeing words scramble on a page or reading 5 pages of something, only to then realize that I can't remember exactly what I've just read. I really despised reading. I hated doing it. The act of it was just something that I just completely shied away from at all costs and eventually just gave up on. That is until last year, 2022, when I discovered manga. Now, when I talk about discovering manga, it's not like I literally just found something. It's not like I'm a paleontologist which has just gone into the deserts of Egypt or something like that and just dug a manga book out of the ground and being like, wow, look at this amazing discovery that absolutely no one has ever seen or heard of before. Manga has been around for decades at this point. But for the first time in my life last year, I finished watching the anime Chainsaw Man, and I loved that story so much that I thought, you know what? I'm gonna read ahead. I'm gonna try my best to read manga. I don't really know how comics are going to be. I don't really know what this is going to be like, but I really love this story, so let's go ahead and give it a shot. And since then, I have not looked back. Chainsaw Man is literally the manga that made me fall in love with reading, finally. Now, this video is nothing really more than just me expressing my absolute sheer love for this manga and basically just talking about how it's affected me. And so if you're looking for a very in-depth review about Chainsaw Man and me nitpicking certain factors about what I love about this and what I love about that, then you're most certainly not going to get it in this video because frankly, I'm a potato. I really don't know what I'm talking about. I'm no artist, I'm no mangaka. I'm just a dude who knows how to speak Japanese, who loves anime, who loves K-pop and J-pop, and that's about it. But with what little knowledge that I do have of what I like, and the fact that I stand so firmly behind the power of that emotion that I feel when I do like something, I'm just gonna go out there and say it. Chainsaw Man is an absolutely incredible beginner manga. Now, by beginner, do I mean that it's simple and that it's easy to digest? Absolutely fucking not. You only need to read one chapter of this manga to know that it's basically one of the most unhinged pieces of work out there by one of the most unhinged individuals that is currently writing fiction today. Tatsuki Fujimoto is, for the best part, pretty much off his rocker almost 24/7. And you know what? I'm honestly 100% absolutely here for it. When I do say that this is a great beginner manga though, what I mean by this is rather that for people who have never been exposed to manga as a medium, or for people who think that perhaps comics are just far too simple and aren't artistic, which are even views that I myself have been exposed to growing up. Discovering Chainsaw Man though led me to one ultimate conclusion, and that was that everything that I had previously ever thought about manga was completely and utterly incorrect. Sure, there are comics, there are mangas, there are manhwas, there are webtoons that obviously do employ a certain art style or a certain writing style which can be goofy or funny, but one of the reasons that I really gravitated towards Chainsaw Man is purely just because of the premise and how absolutely outlandish and out of pocket that it is. And for this is the first reason why I think that it's a brilliant beginner manga, because the story is compelling. From the start, we're focused on Denji, the main character of Chainsaw Man, who is basically facing one of the harshest realities that we could possibly imagine. He has no family, he's growing up poor, and ultimately no one cares whether or not he lives or dies. He's an outlandish, completely off the rails ruffian who is very simple, one-track minded with simple, one-track dreams, but is drowning under a mountain of debt and has no idea of the world and the forces that possibly can control him. In this world, a world where devils also reside, one day, Denji is actually turned around and his life turned upside down by him meeting a devil called Pochita. Previously having been all alone, he befriends Pochita, who was also alone just like him, and the two make a great pair where Denji basically becomes a devil hunter for hire for the Yakuza, the Japanese mafia. While the mafia use him, one day they also decide to turn on him as well too, so it's literally just Denji and Pochita versus the entire world. He eventually winds up getting killed, and so does Pochita. Or so we think. With his dismembered body lying in a dumpster, and Pochita with him as well too, the two of them form a pact, and Pochita joins with Denji's heart, effectively turning him into Chainsaw Man. After getting almost immediate revenge on those who just killed him, Denji is exhausted, is almost out of power until he is found by a woman by the name of Makima. Makima is an individual who is basically just revealed as a member of Public Safety, a Japanese organization which looks after devil hunters, and that is the end of Chapter 1. Chapter 1. This is literally the first chapter. Now, I don't know if this is just me, but I had literally never read a story in my entire life that caught me in such a short period of time the way that Chainsaw Man did. Maybe it's my fascination with the paranormal, with the supernatural, and also just the fact that the storyline, the writing, the dialogue as well too, and the characters that we were introduced to, even in just the first chapter, were super interesting, but I absolutely ate this up. Now, as an anime-only watcher for pretty much the entirety of the first season of Chainsaw Man, I was so incredibly impressed by just how fucking crazy the characters were. Denji is uncouth, borderline uncontrollable, and on top of that is just sometimes downright absolutely disgusting. He's super abrasive, and he says some of the most out-of-pocket shit that will either get you cringing or just laughing along with him, purely just due to the absolute absurdity of what it is that he's saying. With characters like Power, Makima, Aki, and Himeno around him especially throughout the anime, and of course the first chapters of the manga, the cast is interesting, diverse, and you get attached very easily to every single one of these characters in some way, shape, or form. Mind you, there's many others, Arai, Kobeni as well too, that we could talk about, but that's probably better saved for another video where I actually try and go in depth about Chainsaw Man and maybe some other things that I like about it. Let me know down in the comments if you guys would like something like that. Now, I said at the beginning of the video that I've always really hated reading. Sometimes I'd read certain words back to front, sometimes I'd skip words, sometimes they'd jumble on the page, and then other times I would just have the memory of an absolute fucking goldfish and forget what I've been reading for the last 15 pages. This is where not necessarily Fujimoto, but just the medium of manga comes in. For me, I'd never expected how much I would enjoy manga paneling, and also just being able to see the way that art is drawn to not only be able to bring the dialogue that rests within it to life, but also to be able to let you empathize with and get more attached to the characters that you're reading about. In the case of Fujimoto's art, much like his characters, is very rough around the edges. Of course, he's capable of far more with, say, Fire Punch, for example. His art is absolutely gorgeous, and in Chainsaw Man, it's not like it's not beautiful at all either. But there's a certain quality to it where it feels rough and it feels raw in many aspects, which is exactly the vibe that I get from this story in terms of the way that the characters talk, interact with each other, and also with the viewer. Living in the world as a devil hunter is not easy, and of course, meeting these fears, these devils, and of course, these absolutely disgusting creatures that are trying to end your life at almost every single corner and turn, let alone the absolute fucked up shit that constantly keeps happening throughout this manga. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but of course, if you know, you know. The fact that all of this is visually reinforced by the art and the chaos that you sometimes see really drives home just how crazy this world actually is. On top of that, Fujimoto really creatively utilizes paneling to his advantage to be able to tell a story, make you feel emotion, and to even make you feel a lack of emotion with the way that he uses negative space to be able to maximize the most out of purely just milking a situation to make you just ruminate about what the fuck just happened in absolute pain. This is one thing going into manga that I'd never expected to enjoy, but paneling and also just the art is easily one of my favorite things. Of course, for most manga enjoyers, the art is extremely important, and if not for all, really, because the art, of course, is the visual selling point. That's half of the story. But the way that Fujimoto does expressions, the line work, the contrast, the details, the lack of details, all of it is something purely that I have just absolutely fallen in love with. So because this video has largely just been me so far fawning over Chainsaw Man and of course talking about why I love it so much, would I recommend it? Abso-fucking-lutely. I would literally recommend Chainsaw Man to absolutely everyone because in my mind, this is the manga that finally got me to appreciate fiction in the written and drawn medium. If not for Chainsaw Man, I don't know really which one it would have been. Would I have eventually come around to manga? Probably. But one thing is for sure. This story is absolutely phenomenal, and I recommend it for absolutely everyone that is even remotely interested in fiction because I'm sure some part of it will tickle your brain in some way, shape, or form where you won't be able to put it down. I'm excited for the almost weekly releases. Pain. And I can't wait to keep on reading it with you guys. This was Locke. Thanks very much for tuning in. Subscribe if you enjoyed the vibes. I'll see you guys in the next one.